Hello everybody, welcome to today's Petrosys webinar. My name is Ewan Rule and I work in the Petrosys Glasgow office, and over the next 20 minutes or so we're going to look at how you can use the Petrosys plugin for Petrel to transfer data into and out of Petrel. So this is the brief agenda. We're going to have a reminder about what the plugin does, and then we'll look at getting data into Petrel, what sort of data sources you can use as input for putting data into Petrel, getting data out of Petrel again, and then we'll spend most of the time in the demonstration. So why would you use the Petrosys plugin? There's direct access to a wide variety of data types, and there's no need to do manual reformatting or import ASCII files into Petrel. The data is written into Petrel in the Petrel project's coordinate reference system. Petrosys will convert from the source data CRS if different. And it's easy to use, and hopefully we'll show you that in the demo. There's a wide variety of data sources you can use for input, so things like GIS data sources, geodatabases, Shapefiles, Oracle Spatial. We've got support for both geographic and projected coordinate systems. We can also load interpreted data with z-values, for example if you've got seismic interpretation displayed or well tops from a third-party database connection. And we can load data from Excel or ASCII files, as long as they've got coordinates and a z-value. And of course we can also load data from Petrosys' own format files, things like grids, seismic and well data files, etc. For getting data back out of Petrel again, we can export point line and polygon data in a variety of formats, so to things like Shapefiles or to KML for use in Google Earth. We can also import grids from Petrel to Petrosys format, and once they're in a Petrosys format you can display these directly in ArcMap, assuming you have the ASCII plugin. And there's a wide range of plotting formats available for Petrosys as well, including geospatial and layered PDFs. Right, let's head into our demo. And we're going to start off in this Petrel project, which I'm sure will be familiar to most Petrel users. It's from the Gullfaks field in the Norwegian North Sea. Sorry, I'll just move this widget out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the Petrosys plugin for Petrel and go into the mapping application. And I'll just open up a typical Petrosys map here. So what we have displayed here are a surface, some faults, well tops. All of these things at the moment are being displayed directly from Petrel. Now you can see the presentation quality of the Petrosys map here. One of the nice things about Petrosys is that you can group things into folders. So in fact we've got data for 3 different horizons displayed on the same map here. So if I switch off the top ETIF, I can switch over to the top NES or to the base Cretaceous and just display different grids, different well tops for these 3 different horizons. Now of course we can display data from a wide variety of other data sources in Petrosys, and this is one of the main advantages of using our mapping. So if I just have a look at what other data types we've got displayed here, you can see we've got data coming from an ASCII file geodatabase, and we're also currently connected to 2 different Kingdom projects. And we can also dynamically convert data that's in different coordinate reference systems. And again, on this map we've got data in 3 different coordinate reference systems, 2 of them in ED50 with different projection zones, and 1 of them's in WGS84. Now I'll just briefly talk about getting some of this data out of Petrel into other formats using Petrosys. So for things like the faults here that we're displaying from Petrel, we have what we call our Spatial data translator. And this allows us to pick up point line and polygon data from the Petrel project and export it out in a variety of different formats. So we could export out to KML, we can export to some Petrosys formats, and if we choose a shapefile, we can put it out for people to use in our GIS departments. And if we want to, we can change the coordinate system of the output shapefile. It doesn't have to be the same as the Petrel project. Something that's new in version 17.3 of Petrosys is the option to export layered in geospatial PDFs. And I'm just going to turn on some of these data types again just to make this map a bit more interesting. If I now select the File, Export PDF option, we have these options to have the georeferencing information in the layers. And when this file gets opened up, you can see the resolution of the PDF itself is very high quality. And the sort of things that people can do in this, so managers or partners that don't have access to Petrosys or Petrel, they can do a little bit of spatial analysis. You can see down in the corner here we've got lat-long coordinates. We can just browse around and see where in the world we are. And also we have a different layering available to us just as we have in Petrosys. So we can switch off these entire top Ness and top Cretaceous datasets if we want to. We could switch on stuff from Kingdom. We've got that same ability to see different things in the PDF and split it up for use in other applications. So that's just a brief overview of getting data out of Petrosys with the plugin, but we're going to focus mainly on loading data into Petrosys. And to do this, just going back into our Petrel project again, let's just imagine that we've got some new wells loaded to the area. And we've been working in this Jurassic prospect down here. But perhaps in one of the new wells there's been some shows in the tertiary, so in the higher level horizon. And we're just interested to see what sort of regional data is available to us here. So I'm going to change my area of interest to a map sheet for the Norwegian North Sea. And the first thing I'm going to display is a contour file. Now this could be something that would come from something like a ZMap ASCII contour file. Petrosys supports a wide range of ASCII formats. Just load it into Petrosys format and then we can display this straight onto our map. Once we've got this data loaded, again with our Spatial data translator, we can export this into our Petrel project. So we'll just call this Petrel folder regional data. It's recognised as the type contours, it's elevation depth. The contours themselves I think are positive values, so we'll just invert them for Petrel. And this is top Paleocene. And just remember when you're putting things into Petrel with z-values, just make sure you have this option here switched on. So off it goes and writes those contours into our Petrel project and we can see them appearing there. Now just to show that they do have valid z-values, we need to go into the settings within Petrel and just change our type from specified to z-values, and we'll start to see a colour gradient appear here. So let's see if we can find some more regional data in this area that we'd like to put into our Petrel project. The next thing I'm going to bring up is the Display GIS option in Petrosys. And we now have, well, you can see we've got access to a wide variety of data sources here, things like SDE, microstation design files. In this case I'm going to choose an Excel spreadsheet. And what we have in this spreadsheet is formation tops for this Vola formation, which is the one we're interested in. So this spreadsheet came from the government agency and you can see it's got a whole range of columns in it. It's got the well name, it's got surface hole locations, it's got the tops. So all we need to do here is choose the formation longitude, the formation latitude, just to make sure we've got the top on the correct position in the well path. For the z-value we'll choose TVDSS. And we'll just make sure these are going to appear in our Petrosys map in a sensible format. It's a little bit smaller. And something else that's new in version 17.3 of Petrosys is the ability to display things with a colour gradient in the Display Spatial option. So if we take our z-value again, it will just give us a colour gradient for those z-values of the tops. So once again you can see we've got this data very easily in Petrosys. At this stage we could do some QC. If we saw any points that looked as if they were definitely wrong, we could take them out of there. For now what we're going to do is just export these into the Petrel project as well. And we'll call this top Vala depth from the NPD. So in this case what we want is obviously it's going to be point data, and because it is sub-C values we don't need to do the inversion. So there we go, that's us got the point data into Petrel as well. Once again we'll just change the symbology in Petrel a little bit so that it's a bit more obvious. So we'll change that over to Z values and we'll make the size a little bit bigger just so we can see them properly. So there you go, you can see we've got some top values around the place, nothing particularly close to the area we're working in, but there's a few wells that might be of interest. Now we're going to want to know where those wells are and who the operator is for the blocks. Maybe we can get some data from them. So we'll go back into our display GIS and we'll switch over to a ASCII file geodatabase, which maybe we've got from our cultural data provider. And we'll just put on the production licenses for Norway, display those as well. And once again, as with the other things, in this case we've covered the line types, the point types. This is obviously a polygon type, and we can export this into Petrel too. So this will be production licenses. So in this case the depth domain doesn't really matter, we'll just put them in as boundary polygons. And you can see we've loaded in 433 polygons to our Petrel project there. And now we're really starting to get quite a good range of data available to us in this area. Now, in fact, I've been loading in a lot of data. I've been loading in everything from this area of interest. Probably in the real world you wouldn't want to do that, but you can use the area of interest to control what data is loaded into your Petrel project. So if you choose a smaller area, it will only load in a subset of the data. And in fact, if we just put on the area of interest for Gulfax, we'll just move over there and we'll start to have a look at things in a bit more detail. So you can see in this area we've got a few contours, we don't actually have any wells, so there's not much regional data that's very close to the area we're working in. But what we can do is start to put in data that's been interpreted from perhaps other sources. So if we had a colleague or a partner who had a Kingdom project, for example, or it could be Sizeway or OpenWorks, could be something else, we can get data from their project and start to load that into Petrel as well. And I'm just going to open up our surface modelling here. What we're going to do here is just create a Petrosys grid directly from some data stored in a Kingdom database. So for input data sources in Petrosys, you can add a whole range of different data types from a whole range of different data sources. We'll just go with this Kingdom database here, and we're going to grid up the vola horizon. I'm going to take the depth data, and just note that this Kingdom database was in WGS84, so it's not in the same coordinate system as the Petrel project. While that's running, just a reminder that you can have as many input data sources as you want to. So we could have included the point data from the NPD Excel spreadsheet or the contours from the ZMAP ASCII file. So we've gridded it up, and we'll also write this Petrosys grid straight into Petrel. So we're taking our vola depth from Kingdom, we're going to write it into a new Petrel folder called Petrosys grids. Because the input data was positive again, we'll just invert it. And we'll see if that's appeared in our Petrel project. Sorry, I'll just run this task. There we go, there's our Petrosys grid created from data from Kingdom, written straight into Petrel and available to us in our input data tree, which we can go on and use for further modelling within Petrel. However, it might be that you don't want to see for some reason you might not want to use the Petrosys gridding algorithm, you might want to grid it up in Petrel itself. If you want to do that, we can display the data directly from Kingdom on the Petrosys map. Just hook up to the same database with the 2D information. Choose what data type you want to display on here. So again, it's this vola horizon, and we want the depth data. And we'll just switch on a ribbon map so we can see where we've got valid interpretation in here. So as you can see, parts of the lines coming from the Kingdom database don't have interpretation. We're just going to write in the values that do have valid interpretation. So once again, it's just the right mouse button with our export spatial data. This will just take the data within the area of interest, even if these lines extend out further. And we'll write this into a new Petrel folder called Data from Kingdom. So this could also be something like well tops if we wanted. We'll write this in as a point data set. We're going to invert it, and the Petrel name will be Validepth. And when we say OK, we should see a whole lot of points written from Petrosys into our Petrel project. As ever, we'll just change the settings in this. Again, just to give us a nice colour gradient. So we can see we've written the z-values properly. Now obviously they match up with the grid pretty well, but if we switch the grid itself off, you can see you've got the z-values there, and you can then take them on and start working with them within Petrel. So that's a quick overview of ways that an individual might use the Petrosys plugin to get various types of data, be it from interpreted sources and third-party applications, Excel spreadsheets, GIS data, into Petrel. I'm just going to move over into a different project, and we'll look at doing some batch loading of data, the sort of thing that data managers might do. So we'll just shut down our plugin in this particular project, won't bother saving anything there. And we'll open up a different Petrel project, and this one is actually a reference project. So it's a Petrel reference project in UTM31 for Western Europe, and essentially it's a place where we're storing master cultural information that can then be accessed by other individual Petrel projects. So what we've got here is data from 3 different government regulators. So the NPD's in Norway, DEC is the UK, and DCENR's the Republic of Ireland. So we'll start up our Petrosys plugin again, and I'll go into our surface modelling. One of the really good things about our surface modelling is that you can create workflows, so you can run a whole lot of tasks in a big batch job. And I'm just going to use this West European culture loader task. So this is the sort of thing you might use if, for example, your cultural information is getting updated every month, and it just gives you a quick and easy way to get all of that information updated in your Petrel reference project. So if we just take a look at the top one of these tasks, you can see that all we're doing here is taking one of these shapefiles, and this is from the Norway folder. You can see we've got 3 different folders, each holding shapefiles relevant to that authority. And like we were doing with the other spatial data translator things, we're just going to write these into our Petrel project. So the difference here is there's a whole lot of things, and we're just going to write them all in at once. So I'll just let this go ahead and run, and we'll see the data start to be written into Petrel. And hopefully you can see it's very performant. We're writing some quite big shapefiles into the Petrel project. I think that's all the Norwegian stuff done. Now we're moving across to the UK shapefiles. And we should start to see the Irish stuff appear out to the west here as well in a second. So just while it's writing all that stuff in, let's open up our data tree here. There you can see the different names from the shapefiles that we're writing in. And bear in mind as well that if you've got GIS-like information that has attributes, geodatabases, map info files, we'll write those attributes into the Petrel database. So you've got access to all the different attributes about operators, dates, and all of that sort of stuff you can of course display in Petrel as well. So really that's been quite a quick run through, but I hope I've given you some idea of the sort of ways that Petrosys can help make your life a bit easier with getting data into the Petrel environment, either as an individual or as a data manager. We think the data interface is quite intuitive and easy to use. I think the options in the panel are pretty straightforward, and you can either run it from surface modelling, or if you've got stuff displayed in your map you can write that into Petrel. As you saw, the workflows allow you to do batch updating. There are various ways that you can get subsets of data into Petrel, either using a mapsheet area of interest, or if you're working with Petrosys' own formats you can use our selection files. And we're also very quick to support new versions of Petrel and other third-party applications. An example, I don't know if you noticed there, but we've been running Petrel 2012.2, which I believe is the current release version. So really that's all from me in this demo. I think I've had you all muted during the demonstration. I'll just unmute you if anyone has any questions.